I was sent a video by burterspeed, and this video is insane and covers every single problem that should have been addressed and easily fixed within Warzone. We're going to be reacting to that today and discussing it within this video. First of all, check him out. He's linked down below. Insane content. Literally one video on his channel, and it is this one. Please do me a favor. If you enjoy, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's hop in.
Does anyone else remember the first few times you played Warzone? I recall being extremely impressed with how polished everything felt. The gunplay, the vehicles, the movement. Everything just felt so good. Coupling that with features like customizable loadouts, having a second chance in the gulag, and the ability to buy your teammates back. And I'm not at all surprised that I've logged an uncomfortably large number of hours playing this game.
Facts.
However, despite the many positives, Warzone has always been plagued with several key issues.
True.
Today, some of these are far less of a problem than they once were.
True.
While others have gotten so bad that players have just, well, stopped playing the game.
Huh. It's like I just ran into this, dude.
But these are not what this video is about. Prior to the release of Call of Duty Vanguard and its integration with Warzone, which we are all hopeful will adequately address some of these bigger problems.
Isn't that Battlefield?
I'm going to look back at some of the smaller quality of life types of things that have always annoyed me about Warzone. Some of these will be obvious to anyone that's played Warzone. While others may only be familiar to those that have spent a lot of time in Verdansk.
Yeah, how is that even a thing?
And they will range from things that,
I don't get it.
if nothing else, just waste your time, to things where I think minor tweaks would make substantial improvements to the gameplay experience.
Agreed. Look at that,
finally,
dude.
to things that make you wonder, what on earth were the developers thinking? This is the little things.
This is
about
interesting.
Call of Duty Warzone.
This is interesting. I can get behind this. Movement. This is a killer video.
There is no doubting that Warzone's movement is one of its best features.
How
Jump
many
shotting,
views does this have?
drop shotting,
1,000 views. This is
slide
1,000
cancelling,
views. Are you kidding
bunny
me?
hopping. So much about this game's movement is so smooth.
October 17th.
Unfortunately, at the same time, there are mechanics that place frustrating restrictions on your freedom of movement or force unintended actions. And the game's auto-mantling is a good place to start.
Auto-mantling is the
mantle
worst
anything
thing
in
ever.
Warzone, I don't want to automatically bolt over it. I just want to stand on top of it. If I wanted to go over something, I could simply continue to move up to standing on it.
Agreed.
So a mechanic which automatically vaults you over objects is borderline redundant anyway.
That's
Despite
stupid.
this, since day one of Warzone, there have been countless spots on the map where your character will stupidly auto-mantle. For the most part, it just wastes a bit of your time.
Yeah, you drop
But
all
in
the way
worst
off.
case, it'll send you to your death.
Oh my god, the worst, dude. Well, you did just go, you went for the
The
thirst.
mechanic also feels really inconsistent. Here is a ledge train station. On one side, you automatically mantle over it, but on the other, you just mantle on top of it.
Okay,
And because
yeah,
of
that doesn't even make
inconsistencies
sense.
like these, even
doesn't
after
make
all the
sense.
time I've spent on this map, there are still many instances where I have no idea if I'm going to auto-mantle over an object or just mantle on top of it, even though there is almost no situation where I actually want to auto-mantle. The weirdest thing about this is that the game will happily mantle you off a rooftop, but sometimes you can't mantle over small fences. And I would prefer not to get started on traversing rocks.
Yeah, how is that still a problem?
There's always been two things about parachutes that annoy me. First, sometimes when you are close to the ground or a building, it's impossible to cut your chute, meaning you're just a sitting duck floating slowly to the ground.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
I get a free kill on this guy because he's stuck here floating, helplessly, unable to cut his chute, and this just shouldn't happen. Next, I think you should be able to attempt to pull your parachute independently of how high you are off the ground. If I wanted to pull my chute jumping off this wooden chair, then I should have that option. It wouldn't work, of course, because I would hit the ground before my chute came out, but I would still like that option. And this is because there are so many times when there is very clearly enough time to parachute, but the game doesn't let you. Here, had I been able to parachute off that cliff, I could have outrun the gas.
True. Yo, that happens to me so often. Or like in Rebirth.
Rare, where this restriction will actually kill you to fall damage.
Yeah. Look. What is the deal with that? That happens to me all the time.
This is a minor section, but why do you automatically stand up after self-reviving? I still don't know if there's a way to prevent this, and although I don't think I've ever died to this, not even once, it's pretty stupid that the first thing your character does after reviving themselves is to stand up. Thus,
okay, you can actually, like, not do that. All you have to do is just spam your prone button, but it only works on mouse and keyboard, so.
Giving the person that originally downed you a chance to finish you off.
Yeah, that's crazy.
One of my favorite places to land in Verdansk is the airport, and over my few thousand games, I've probably landed here a few hundred times. There is one constant in all of these landings. Without fail, there is always a team that goes to camp in this tower. Why is that? It's because it's the only spot on the map where players are essentially invincible. And this is because of ziplines, which are the single most poorly designed feature in Warzone. To start, from the time a zipline camper first sees you, to the time where you can even put your hands on your gun, is around 2.4 seconds.
Holy moly!
To put this number into perspective, this time so far exceeds the time to kill of any weapon in the game, that even if a zipline camper is using the awful M60, which has a time to kill of around 3/4 of a second, they'll still be able to kill you 3 times over before you can even move. And that's just before you can even move. I didn't even add the time to kill for the person zipping up. For example, it took this guy a total of 3.36 seconds to kill me with his M4. Or, to put it differently, if you take a zipline and someone's waiting at the top, you are dead. No questions asked. How stupid is that?
See, the only time that that's not true is when you're playing like Iron Trials.
Well, at least Raven added the ability to jump off ziplines. So now you don't get killed while zipping up on the outside of buildings, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't fix it.
Unfortunately not. In its current state, the difference this feature makes is negligible.
Yeah, it's
like when
completely
you
pointless.
dismount from the top. To actually jump off a zipline takes around 1.2 seconds. In this game, where the time to kill is so fast and the recoil is so easy to control, this time is far too long.
Yeah.
And even if the dismount time was immediate, ziplines would still be missing a critical feature.
What is that?
While riding a zip, your camera is still fixed, facing forward, meaning that unlike while climbing a ladder, you cannot see your surroundings.
What's the deal with that?
If ever, get killed on a ladder, because you can look around to see if you're in danger.
Okay, that's
and if you
not
are,
true at all.
Jump to safety instantly. It is difficult to believe that ziplines have been around for so long.
Listen, if I get on a ladder, I'm dead. No matter where I'm looking, I'm dead. Because as soon as I jump down, I'm still getting beamed. Like, I don't know what kind of lobby this guy's getting, but...
And don't work exactly the same way. Sliding on slanted surfaces is almost as unpleasant as taking
they said they fixed this. They said that they fixed this. It never got fixed.
ziplines, as your camera gets locked in such a way that it's impossible to look down. So if you slide on a rooftop and there's someone below you, they'll kill you, and you can't even shoot back because your camera is locked.
That's crazy.
This was until a recent patch that addressed this issue. Now your camera won't get locked as frequently while sliding, but the solution is far from perfect. On steeper slopes, like these ones, you can no longer slide, and now you will simply duck instead. The thing is, ducking is generally preferable to getting your camera locked, sure, but I don't really want to lose the ability to slide.
Yeah, true.
If this guy could shoot a little straighter, I would have died because I couldn't slide to safety. But more importantly, your camera still gets locked pretty frequently. Sometimes it still gets locked when you are sliding on mountains. It'll get locked almost always when sliding on the edges of most rooftops. And it will still sometimes get locked when sliding on slanted rooftops, especially when you're sliding around the rooftop's apex.
This is a killer
There's
video.
also countless other seemingly random examples where sliding still locks your camera. Is it too much to ask that I never have to worry about a bug that's equivalent to my controller not working after I slide?
For real, bro. Overpowered items and mechanics.
It's one thing to have poorly designed game mechanics that affect your freedom of movement. Perhaps these were just oversights. But to actually design an item that specifically immobilizes your enemy is truly baffling. To even do a 180 after you get stunned takes over 5 seconds. And that, by itself, is enough to show how overpowered stun grenades are. But if you are still not quite convinced, just note that stun grenades enabled these guys to exist. Nobody likes these guys, nobody wants to see these guys. And while we're here, what the f are these sticks all about? Why do these sticks kill faster than any gun? In fact, after 18 months, why is the melee in this game still so broken? Just look at this guy swinging at nothing and ripping my plates off.
Honestly, okay, I think we go Fortnite route with this. Okay, can we just all agree on that, chat? Can we 100% agree on that? You shouldn't, like, melee shouldn't be a thing. Plain and simple. It should do 1/5 of your base health, but it shouldn't hurt your plates. Shouldn't hurt your plates at all. I think it's one of those things where it should just immediately hurt your actual health, but then also it only does 20% of whatever your health is. So it's going to take 5 hits. It takes 5 hits, and there should be no lunge. Look at in Fortnite, whenever people are swinging their axe, it takes 5 hits, but it's almost impossible to hit the enemy with the axe. Like, that is what melee should be. We should kick it back to like Black Ops 2 melee, where you literally had to try your best to hit. And if you weren't directly on, it didn't do it. And I feel like this is completely broken on console as well, because the way that FOV works, I can be the same distance from a person, but on my screen, because of FOV, I won't lunge. But on their screen, because of FOV, they will lunge. It's ridiculous.
The developers should have deleted stuns from the game a long, long time ago.
Factual.
The sticks should have gotten the same treatment.
Factual.
And the game's melee system should have been patched soon thereafter.
Factual.
Heartbeat sensors are an interesting one. They are clearly not as annoying as stun grenades in battle.
Battery life. Battery life. Fix the heartbeat sensor right there. It has battery life, or a number of uses you can have. 10 uses. That's how many uses you get out of a heartbeat sensor.
Most people still choose to run them. And if hitting someone with a stun allows you to easily kill them, no matter the skill difference between the players, and more players still favor heartbeats, then it's pretty clear that heartbeats are similarly overpowered.
True.
Still, unlike stuns, I've never thought there was an issue with their purpose, so I don't think they should be removed entirely. The problem with heartbeats is how easy it is to spam them and how much people abuse this feature. And fixing this problem has always been so easy. Something as simple as a 30-second recharge time after every use would make heartbeats a really viable option that are more in line with the rest of the game's tacticals.
I'm kind of down with that, dude.
Explaining why mounting is really dumb is pretty easy. This is the MG82, and this is its recoil pattern. Meanwhile, this is its recoil pattern well mounted. And this is the still frame between the two. If we zoom in and add some contrast, the patterns are easier to see.
Oh my
Just by
god.
mounting your gun,
It's
you get
literally
a ridiculous 50% reduction in vertical recoil.
Oh
And it means
my
you can
god.
do things like this effortlessly.
Ayo?
I have no clue why anyone thought this was a good idea. Unfortunately, a variation of mounting has already been confirmed for the next Call of Duty, so I'm really hoping it works nothing like the pseudo aimbot that is Warzone's mounting.
Well, that's not changing.
Dead silence.
For sure.
What
This
more
is a
can
killer
really be
video.
said? I mean, at this point, they might as well replace Dead Silence with a new field upgrade that automatically adds 2 or 3 kills to your tally. That would honestly be preferable, right?
Yeah.
The person using Dead Silence wouldn't have to burden themselves with wiping a team, and no one would have to get killed by it. Well, at least they made a perk that counters it. I guess I'll be running High Alert until further notice.
True.
Actually, on second thought, I can't really do that either, because then I would have to sacrifice Ghost. And if I don't run Ghost, then I'm just left dealing with these sorts of guys every game.
I love this.
There's really no winning here, unless, of course, they just do what should have been done a few weeks after the game was released, and take Dead Silence out of Warzone.
Dead Silence shouldn't be in the game. It should never, it shouldn't be in any game. It shouldn't be in any game.
With obscenely loud kill streaks, motorbikes that sound like this, and whatever is going on here,
Yeah.
it's probably not too surprising when I say that communicating
They were drilling a hole. I figured it out. Don't worry
with your
about it.
teammates, especially if they are random players, can be pretty challenging. So when I saw this image posted a few months back,
That's genius.
I wasn't at all surprised that it was one of the most liked posts on the Warzone subreddit. It is so simple
even
but would
hard,
so
dude.
effectively streamline a lot of Warzone's unnecessary communication.
True.
To see this, let's give these players some names and note that Brett has 0 plates and Murray has 4. Without these improvements to the HUD, the conversation around armor plates would look something like this. Brett begins by asking whether his teammates have plates, to which Murray responds. The players then exchange some plates, with Brett always asking for one fewer than he could really use, and Murray always providing one more than he
Listen, that is true. That is very true.
was asked for.
I
On the
always
other
ask for too few.
If we just add each player's plates to the HUD, the conversation gets cut in half. And better teammates will simplify things even further. This is a really small thing, but it just makes things so much easier. There's also no need to tell your teammates you found a UAV. They already know.
Yeah.
And there's no need to ask whether your teammate wants the gas mask you found on the floor. You already know they have one.
Yeah.
But I think we can still improve on this. Let's split the HUD into sections and look at them individually.
True.
We can ignore this middle section since there's no useful data, so we're left with the following.
Okay.
And let's start here. In Warzone, you can be full dead, in the gulag, or alive. While full dead, the only thing I would change is to show how much money a player will respawn with, because it can sometimes be useful to revive the teammate with
Yeah, what? Why is that not even, like, why do I have to ask?
more money. Take the following example. Here, both Brett and Jermaine need to be revived, and Brett has far more money. If Murray chooses to revive Brett, their combined money will exceed the 4,000 required to also revive Jermaine.
Yeah.
However, if Murray chooses to revive Jermaine, their combined money won't quite be enough to revive Brett. So the decision is obvious, but since it doesn't show their money,
Sorry, I was
we
just.
don't know who should be
something.
revived in this situation.
I love this guy. I love this guy. He deserves 300,000 subs. 316, honestly, since I'm
While
at
you're in the
315.
gulag, this is what
he
your
can take
teammates
mine.
see, and this doesn't change from the moment you die to the moment you respawn or lose your gulag. This means your teammates cannot tell whether you're already fighting or just waiting to fight. It should distinguish between these two states, and this would mean you don't have to ask for comms every time you are fighting in the gulag.
Right.
Or, at the very least,
Yes. Oh my
your teammates
god.
won't interrupt you as frequently while fighting. As for when you're alive, I'll start by adding in plates, gas masks, and kill streaks from the previous example.
Right.
Another obvious one is field upgrades. If your teammate picks up an armor box, this is extremely useful information, but you'll never know unless they tell you. If it's shown right here, there's no longer a reliance on that verbal communication.
Love that.
Does anyone else have that one annoying teammate that's always asking for sniper ammo? Another thing I'd like to see is ammo counts. If I have a sniper in my...
Well, no, that's just gonna make it cluttered.
and I'm low on ammo, I would need to ask my teammates to drop some. If I could see their ammo counts, I would know who I should ask, so that I'm not getting
I think he's trying to add in like his twist on it because this is basically stolen. But I mean,
everyone to check
I
their
get it.
inventories every time. If I switch to my secondary, say an AR, then it would show me everyone's AR ammo, and the
Okay.
same logic applies. I think these are all the obvious ones that should definitely be added, but you could go even further. Maybe you would also like to know whether or not your teammates are ghosted. Maybe, like myself, you enjoy watching a lot of competitive Warzone, so you would like to see each player's kills displayed next to their names. Heck, for all the less mathematically inclined players out there, maybe a sum of everyone's money would be cool. You could do the same for your team's kills.
Okay. I'm down with that. I like that. The money and the kills.
Now, I'm not saying
cool.
the HUD should look like this. Personally, I would like as much useful information as possible while playing, but others would no doubt think it's too cluttered.
True.
I think the best solution is to make it customizable in the settings. The baseline for everyone should look like this, and then players should have the option to choose what additions they
Customizable
want.
all the way, baby.
Now for the rest of the HUD. People that play on consoles don't get much, so at least let us see our FPS, latency, and packet loss. As someone who doesn't have the world's greatest internet, it would be really useful to know exactly when I'm having random lag spikes so I can try to avoid battles.
Yeah.
It is the least that could be done for console players. In this section, I think it's perfect. Let's move on.
Oh, okay.
There's really nothing wrong with this section either, except for this toggle.
Yeah.
Whenever you are using a Modern Warfare gun, you can switch between shooting full auto or single fire.
Turn it off.
Full auto looks like this, and single fire looks like this.
Why would you even need that?
In other words, the only thing the single fire toggle does is get you killed when you accidentally and unknowingly turn it on. And since that's all it does, why is it here?
This is great. This is great. I'm gonna have his link down below for those watching on YouTube. This is killer. This is such a good video. Such a smart video.
Aside from some very infrequent ban waves and releasing statements that simply ask cheaters to, you know, stop cheating.
Hey, could y'all stop it? Could you stop it, please? I just want you to stop.
The only mechanism for combating cheaters over the past 18 months has been the blocking system. And to be fair, when it works, it's pretty effective.
Yeah.
If, for example, you get killed by a cheater.
Oh. I've died to 0 before. Pew. But the whole team's cheating too.
And then if this player joins one of your future games, you'll be notified, meaning you can find a new game without that player. This
Why
way,
would
you'll never
not
have
be
to
the
get
first
killed by
thing
the
to
same
press?
cheater more than once. So, what's the problem here? There are two, but we'll start with how much time it wastes. After dying, you are given the pleasure of spectating your killer, and while spectating, you are given the option of reporting players for exploiting, cheating, and a few other things. But do you see what's missing here? Bizarrely, you cannot block players right here, on the spot.
True.
It seems counterintuitive that you would want to report someone for cheating.
I think that the second you report someone, it should say, would you also like to block them?
But not
I
block
think
them.
that is what
This
happens.
feature doesn't exist while spectating. Instead,
Like
you
Twitter.
have to go through the incredibly tedious task of heading back to the main menu, going to your recent players tab, and then scrolling through 150 gamer tags to find the cheater's name, where
Which
you
is
can
stupid.
finally block them.
Yeah.
Note the timer here. It took more than a minute of my time to block this single cheater, and this was a good example. When scrolling through a few
I
hundred
never
names,
find them.
it's pretty easy to either miss a name or forget a name entirely. Of all the problems discussed in this video, the solution for this one is perhaps the easiest. If they
Super
just
easy.
added the option to block a player while spectating, everyone would save so much time. Although, it's worth noting that this doesn't completely
I love this guy.
fix the issue. Oftentimes, after being killed by a cheater, you'll
You
head to the
don't
gulag or begin
even
spectating one of your teammates. And so,
get an
beyond the
option.
kill cam, you never get to spectate them. Luckily, Raven has already fixed this problem. Now, at the top of your recent players tab, you'll be shown players that you interacted with in-game. So if you get killed by someone, they should
Sick.
be at the top, meaning you can easily find their name.
Well, that's not true
This
at
is
all.
a great idea, but there's just one small problem. It doesn't work.
Okay. I was like, hold
Recently,
on.
I was killed by a really good level 51 who I don't want to play again.
Yeah,
Not
he was just
only was
good.
he not at the top, I had to scroll through more than 100 names to find him. This needs to be fixed so that the players you interact with appear at the top 100% of the time. And in
100%.
combination with the ability to block players while spectating, the blocking process wouldn't be so needlessly time consuming. Now for the second problem. After getting sniped one game and somehow getting my self-res off, I was immediately killed by a guy whose aim looked like this. So I decided to spectate him. And aside from being truly enamored by this ladder, he just sat around, staring at the walls, for several minutes. But in the end, he didn't disappoint.
I didn't even think he was cheating.
He was just a really, really bad player with a really, really nice aimbot. Anyway, after spending a few minutes finding this guy's name, at least I blocked him, meaning I'll never have to see this guy again, right?
Maybe.
A few weeks later, this happened. Same
Wait.
guy in my game again, even though I blocked him. Apparently nobody told this guy that his monthly subscription didn't include shotguns with infinite range, so I was able to kill him. But this was buybacks, so my victory didn't last too long.
What?
But getting back to the point, even though I blocked this guy, I got put into another match with him. Why? It turns out, in what is perhaps the single strangest thing about this game, they actually placed a limit on your block list. Once your block list reaches 200 players, for every subsequent player you block, they never get placed on the list. I have no idea when my block list reached 200 players, and so I have no idea how long I've been
Are you kidding me?
blocking cheaters aimlessly. I also have no idea how many cheaters I've died to, but I would hate to think
All of
about
them.
how many times I've died to the same cheater more than once. I just want to emphasize the importance of fixing these issues. Even if Call of Duty Vanguard's anti-cheat is 100% effective, and we see precisely 0 cheaters, there will still be several uses for a functional blocking system. An obvious one is stream sniping. Streamers, especially really popular ones, get stream sniped all day. One way to prevent this is to block the snipers.
I'm making myself sound famous whenever this happens, like, semi-often.
Another use would be for Warzone tournaments. Let's say there's a trios kill race where teams play in public lobbies.
True.
Given that all the teams are playing at the same time, it's very likely that 2 tournament teams will be placed in the same lobby. And this is the last thing the teams want. They will not only be taking kills off each other, but they will also have to face another world-class team. One way to prevent this is to block other tournament players. There's also plenty of players that exploit game-breaking glitches. A really good anti-cheat wouldn't...
Well, I would like to say, he here is exploiting the game-breaking glitches. That is his name. I know it's like for the video, but, well...
ban these kinds of cheaters, so we'll need to block them. Here is a less common example. This is a trios game I played recently, and here is my last fight.
That was the worst throwing knife.
This is trios, and that's a team of 5.
Now, if my calculations are correct...
Suffice it to say, they end up winning the game. But here's the most pathetic thing. Just for these guys to get a trios win, a team of 6, it turns out, wasn't enough. One of them was hacking too.
Oh my God.
Not only do I want to block him though, I want to block all of these cheaters. I think these examples show how having a blocking system without limitations is important.
I think it would be better if you can just type people's names in and block them. Like, people should be able to block me if they don't want to play with me. They should be able to type in block player and then they find my name and they block me.
Regardless of the effectiveness of the forthcoming anti-cheat. Though, it's pretty remarkable that this even needs to be said.
Oh my God.
In one of the world's most popular free-to-play games, how did somebody think it would be a good idea to place a limit on the single countermeasure against cheating?
That's it, literally,
And
that's the
how,
only way to do it.
Despite the countless times we've all been killed by guys using donut rectiles, have they never, at a bare minimum, increased this limit?
They just don't care, man. Final thought.
Who else
This is
remembers
great.
how bad the DMR meta was? If a player just hit one headshot, the gun could kill you in less than a quarter of a second. You would die so quickly to this weapon,
Jesus.
and I hated it so much that I just never bothered to turn my game on. And this
True.
was the only time where I stopped playing Warzone on a somewhat consistent basis. But looking back, is there
wasn't
really
fun,
too much
man.
of a difference between getting killed by something like a DMR or dying to stupid mechanics? Ridiculous metas, skins
Jesus.
that blend in with their surroundings,
Yeah.
cheaters. We hate these things because they result in deaths that are beyond our control.
I will say, unlike on the skin side of things, like, I get why the skins are in the game, but it's kind of stupid, right? Like, like the skin that you're wearing should not affect whether or not someone can kill you. And technically it doesn't, but you literally can't see the player. So why do they allow skins that are completely pitch black? Makes no
But
sense.
this is exactly what so many of the smaller things also do. With that in mind, I think developers often overlook how much better a game could be by fixing some smaller problems. And they
This is
can't be that
great.
hard to fix, right? I mean, it surely can't be too difficult to increase the 200 player block limit.
It's just too much.
Similarly, I can't imagine that it would be incredibly challenging to reduce a zipline's dismount time. Then again, I'm in no way familiar with game design or development, and it took well over a year before the developers even tried to solve the sliding camera problem, and their solution wasn't even close to fixing it. So perhaps I'm asking for far too much here. Nevertheless, the number of hours I put into the Vanguard version of Warzone will depend just as much on how many times I get annoyed by stupid mechanics or missing features, as it is based on how many times I get killed like this.
That guy's just good. He's just good, man. That's it. That's the video. That's the video. Honestly,